So let's read this first story. Let's just jump right into it. We got NBC News reporting Texas Democrats flee state in effort to block GOP-backed voting restrictions. The lawmakers are on their way to Washington to advocate for federal voting rights legislation, risking arrest by leaving during the special session. I just want to point out very quickly, I love how it's always framed in the media. Voting restrictions.
Voting suppression.
You give them an inch, they take a mile.
Absolutely. And one of the things you have to understand is if you go back to April of last year, Eric Holder, who is the chairman of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, wrote an op-ed piece in Time magazine. And the title of that op-ed piece was How Coronavirus Should Permanently Change Elections in America. And what did they lay out? They lay out the fact that they were going to use universal mail-in ballots, which is different from absentee balloting. Absentee balloting is a control mechanism. You have to send in, like in the military, you have to send in requests for the ballot and it's sent back to you. Controlled, absolutely. But they're talking about just flooding the zone with ballots that are out there. And one of the things that we have evaded in Harris County, which is the largest county in the state of Texas, third largest in the United States of America, is around Houston. The county clerk down there wanted to mail out 2.7 million ballots against a voter registration roll that had never been reviewed.
What? Wow.
And I think if 2.7 million ballots had just gotten out there in Texas, which Donald Trump only won by 620,000. Now, that's the type of thing that they want to have. They want to have 24-hour voting in Texas. So I guess we're going to have polling locations at Waffle House and Denny's and things of that nature.
Unchecked. Nobody watching, no security?
Nobody watching. And then the other thing that they want is curbside voting. Now, curbside voting in the Texas Constitution is very clearly defined. If you are, unable to get out of your car, you go to a polling location and you arrange for your ballot to be submitted there at that polling location. They just want curbside voting anywhere. As a matter of fact, that exact same person, Chris Hollins, set up 9 different curbside voting locations all across Harris County. Now, those are the type of things that we're trying to eliminate from happening. Signature verification. Stop having poll watchers, Republican poll watchers, being bullied and not allowed to go in and do what they're supposed to do, watching the ballot counting process. But what is so funny, Tim, because, I just flew up here to D.C. I was on an American Airlines plane. I had to wear a mask and everything. But there's a picture of these Democrats flying up here on the private jets. And guess who's sitting on the front row of one of those private jets without a mask? My state representative, Retta Bowers, throwing up the peace sign. So I really do feel represented. Thanks a lot, Retta.
Real quick, I also bet to get on that plane, you had to show an ID.
I bet they didn't. Oh,
no,
me?
You.
Oh, I had to show an ID.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you able to board the plane curbside?
No, I was not able to board the plane curbside, and I had to be on time. It was not a 24-hour window for me to board the plane.
Did the plane come to your house unannounced without you asking for it and then offer you a ride?
I don't really have a good runway.
See, it's funny. I mean, obviously, I'm being a little bit facetious, but with these voting restrictions, it eliminates a lot of the security, basic security. Curbside. I mean, when I during the primaries, when I was in New Jersey, I got a mail-in ballot for somebody who did not live at my house, and I don't know why. It was a legit full ballot, and then what am I supposed to do with it? It's not mine. I don't know. It's election mail. I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, but when you combine that with ballot harvesting,
and
the next thing you know, someone comes around and picks up that ballot, and then it is actually officially counted. See, that's what the left wants. And the other thing that I find so interesting is that these Texas Democrats who are really obstructing the legislative process in the Lone Star State, they're up here talking about more federal control of elections. Well, the Constitution does not give the federal government any enumerated power. It has not delegated any power for them to run elections in the United States of America. There's no centralized control, but that's one of the socialist tenets, is nationalizing production, not just economic production, but also we see elections.
They have to do it one grain at a time.
Yes.
They can't just come out. But this H.R. 1 that they're trying to do federally, it effectively nationalizes elections. And the point, this is lost on Democrats. It's the craziest things because it's not a Republican issue. It's basic American civics that each state has, the senators represent a state to the federal government because we are a union of sovereign states.
Free and independent states. That's what the Declaration says.
So each state has their election and determines who they want to submit as electors.
Yeah.
I don't know where this myth or this lie comes from, but you have a very large uneducated population of people who genuinely believe a national popular vote makes sense because they don't understand that we are a United States of America.
Absolutely. And it's a representative democracy. So now all of a sudden when you read H.R. 1, what does H.R. 1 says? H.R. 1 says that there will be no picture ID. anywhere in the United States of America. Really? And there will be no voter registration roll review anywhere in the United States of America. Really? That there are going to be universal mail-in ballots. That's going to be the standard all across the United States of America. So basically, we're just going to mail out ballots all over the place, and people can fill them out like you just talked about.
It's like treating our elections like a raffle. I don't know. You got to take us got a number on it, right? Congratulations, you won the prize.
Well, what's so amazing, Tim, is, and Ian and I were talking previously, at the times that I served in combat. I was in combat trying to help people establish voting systems that now are probably better than ours. I mean, everyone remember the purple finger. Well, now, I don't think we have any way of really determining who's been voting out there.
Where were you when you were trying to set up the voting system?
That was in Iraq. In Iraq, and then also in Afghanistan. We were trying to implement these democratic principles and fundamentals. And now here in the United States of America, we're eroding and undermining our democratic principles and fundamentals. We used to be the gold standard. Show me another country in the world that says we're just going to mail out ballots.
Without checking.
Without checking.
That to me is absolutely insane.
Well, it is insane, but that's how you get the one-party control, which is exactly what the progressive socialists want in America.
I look at, you want your voting system to be a well-oiled machine, where each part of that process is mappable. You can track this piece goes to this piece, to this piece, to this piece. So when the ballot comes out, we know where the ballot came from. We know who sent it. We know who got it and why, whether they went in person or they got an absentee ballot, which has that chain of custody. Now it seems like they're just trying to turn it into a splotch. You can't track where things are going. You can't, we had that election, I think it was in North Jersey, where they found a big bundle of ballots all just tied together, absentee ballots. And that it made no mathematical sense. So this caused a federal judge to say, do over. Mm-hmm. We can't have that. How are we supposed to have confidence in a system?
Well, you can't. And this is what has happened. That it's not coincidental. So at the same time that we're trying to nationalize elections and not have any picture ID, no signature verification on these mail-in ballots, we got an open borders policy. We got hundreds of thousands of people flowing into the state of Texas. Or planes that are all of a sudden showing up in the middle of the night in Tennessee.
Well, before we get into all that, I want to mention something about that. Those people get represented in the electoral vote regardless of whether or not they cast a vote.
That's because the left does not believe that the census should be based upon citizenship.
Yep.
They want the census to be based upon numbers. And so they're flooding it in because they want to have what? They want to have those districts that will lean more so toward the Democrats.
I think it was Tucker Carlson. He was saying that Democrats want illegal immigrants because they want votes. Something to that effect. I think it was Tucker. And the media went nuts. It's funny when you can tell when someone's over target, when they're like, oh, he's a racist and a white supremacist. And he's technically right, but he misses one piece of it. Democrats don't need illegal immigrants to go and vote. They just need the census.
Yes.
So in California, I think it was maybe Heritage. They said that California gets about one extra electoral vote because of the amount of illegal immigration in the state. Mm-hmm. The illegal immigrants are counted on the census. Congressional seats are then apportioned based on the census number, not the amount of citizens. Mm-hmm. And then you get electoral votes based on how many reps you have.
And think about what you just said. What just happened in this last round of the census? California lost an electoral seat.
And New York, I think, too, right?
And New York, too. And guess who picked up 2? Texas.
Wow.
Nice.
Right when you have the open borders and everything that's happening. And why did you see them all? Remember, they pushed off the census. They pushed off the results. And as soon as Joe Biden gets in, what's one of the first things he does, unconstitutionally, by executive order, opens up the borders. And now we have the flood of people that are coming in.
To be fair, though, California's got some pretty open border policies. I mean, they're offering up health care to illegal immigrants under a certain age. So, they ended up losing, I think, because of the mass exodus. But I'll also throw this out there as well. Texas did gain, but I think people are fleeing California into Texas.
They are. And there are 2 types of people that are fleeing, not just California, but Illinois, New York, New Jersey coming into Texas and other successful red states. You have those people that have given up. They say, I'm tired of it. I'm a conservative. I want to go somewhere where I can live under conservative principles and policies. But then you also have the folks that are part of the transplanted workforce. When you pick up and you move a corporation or business, like we've seen State Farm, Liberty Mutual, Toyota North America, Elon Musk coming out of these places. And the key thing is that we have got to convey to these presidents and CEOs, tell your folks that if they want to continue to vote like that, stay. But don't come here to Texas, which you're trying to come here because you want to benefit from our economic policies. And the next thing you know, It's I call it the Locust effect, because California used to be a strong red state.
Oh yeah, until like what 92, I think.
Absolutely, and look what happened.
Yeah, have you ever seen that comic somebody made where Joe Rogan, he's walking from California to Texas, and he's carrying he's got a travel bag that says liberal policies on it, and then there's like a cowboy in Texas like, whoa, don't bring that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people down in Texas will say we need to have a border wall, not just on the southern border, but also on the west side of Texas as well. And we need to have people turn in that blue card, and we can give them a red card.
Yeah, you got to vote this way. Yeah. I mean, I moved out of Philly, and we're now basically in West Virginia. And I've got a bunch of people here, like, I went to a store. It was really funny because they were talking about, oh, these liberals are moving out here and you can tell. And then I laughed and I'm like, yeah, I'm one of them. I moved from Philly. And then their eyes just like,
oh, yeah, they squint.
And then I went, don't worry. I'm not going to vote for any of their, people because I'm jaded. And they went, oh, okay, all right. Well, vote Republican. And I was like, if they're good. I'm not playing those games anymore, you know?
Well, you got to vote on principles. And I think that's one of the things that you're looking at that is happening in the country is that it is no longer so much about political party. It's about your principles and values. It's the ideology. It's the principle, the philosophy of governance. Because you can have Republicans that are progressives. You can have Republicans that believe in big government spending and things of that nature. As a matter of fact, the United States Chamber of Commerce supports open borders. Why? Because they want cheap labor. And that still hurts people, too. So you got one political party that wants, because of quote-unquote votes or to skew the census and the population, then you have another political party that wants the cheap labor.
This is something that I was just thinking about recently because the Southern Poverty Law Center called me a reactionary, which is funny because I'm like actually kind of a reformer, which is not, reactionaries want to keep the old system. And I'm like, no, I think we got to make a lot of changes to that system. I just don't want to burn it down. And I thought it was pretty funny because policy-wise, I'm thinking about the political compass and like whether I'm like, what are my positions? And so I actually, on the political compass test, I'm fairly left libertarian, but I think there's something that easily, like you can easily understand this. I think you and I like America, the Constitution. We like the country, we like our borders.
Like our freedom.
And there's like a difference in policy ideas. But the interesting thing about this is, if I say something like, I'm actually in favor of a basic universal healthcare system with private insurance, that doesn't mean left anymore unless you hate America. And I know it might sound a little bit hyperbolic or exaggerated to say like this, oh, you liberals hate America. But I mean, think about this. When it comes to progressives, how many of the people do you see on TV saying they want universal health care will also proudly wave the American flag and say this country was founded on great principles that planted the seeds of freedom? They're not going to say those things.
They're not. And think about what we saw happen on Independence Day, coming from Maxine Waters, coming from, Cori Bush, who I don't understand how Cori Bush is in the United States House of Representatives. You got a picture downstairs in your basement of David Dorn.
Yeah, we do.
And that was the police officer that was killed because of the violent protests that Cori Bush led.
Murderous riots.
Murderous riots. And now she's sitting in the United States House of Representatives, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. But Cori Bush stood there and said that blacks in America still aren't free. And I'm thinking, okay, I was born in a blacks-only hospital in 1961. How am I not free? But when they continue to spew that rhetoric, and you still have people that buy into it, that listen to it, then they start to believe, I'm not free. I'm owed something. I need reparations. I need all of these things. And that's why, like I said last time, a show like yours is so important to get this message out, especially to the millennial generation.
In your I don't want to go too much into this because I want to talk about this in depth, but you showed us your announcement video for governorship, and you included the names of several black men who are like pioneers and founders in Texas of, I think, Texas A&M.
Yeah, State Senator Matthew Gaines, who former slave, but ended up being a state senator in Texas and co-founded Texas A&M University in Prairie View A&M. G.T. Ruby, Texas State House of Representatives, and then the very first black chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, which was founded by 150 black men, Norris Wright-Cooney, a Galveston businessman.
Those men they prove anybody with hard work can succeed, and they have accomplished more than all of these progressive racist activists will ever accomplish.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And see, what they also prove is that they were not defined by what they were. They were defined by what they would become.
And what they did.
Absolutely.
Their legacy.
That's the legacy.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out. and we'll see you all next time.